Hey everybody, it's Alex Miller at Capnion here. I hope the week is treating you well. I'm a big Pinterest fan. There's a flood of artificially generated content on Pinterest right now, and they're not coping with it very well. And I'm going to outline some specific things I've been observing that might be of interest to you for various reasons. I think the main story for me here, and something I've underlined elsewhere and will try to emphasize for you again, if you increase the throughput in one part of the process, something weird is going to happen somewhere else. And I think the long term story for AI adoption from a management perspective is that you've got to think holistically about what artificial intelligence is going to do to productivity inside your organization. It's not that there's no value in tactically giving this person a tool or automating this process, but that's going to change what happens downstream. Depending on your industry, I think some people in the engineering crowd will be very familiar with this principle that if you amp the throughput a lot on a complicated system, something weird and exciting is going to go wrong somewhere else. Back to Pinterest. I've shown you some examples elsewhere. It's really easy to make all kinds of images with artificial intelligence right now, and some of them are problematic. All of them are getting posted to Pinterest. Being interested in these things and looking for cool examples to share with you guys, I tend to pin these things and look at them. And Pinterest is really struggling. So, one thing I've noticed, lots of this stuff is bad, and Pinterest has to do something. I don't want to know what horrors they've already protected me from. The things I'm saving are just kind of odd and funny looking for the most part. Pinterest is itself trying to use at least, machine learning. You can draw the line where you want, AI, to filter these things. So I am in the middle of some kind of totally automated process as a user. So I will pin something that's at most PG-13, often just very bland, but very obviously artificially generated. And I'll get a grumpy message from Pinterest. Oh, you can't post this. Check our guidelines. Here's a one-time link to the pin that we're angry about. And invariably, these links never work because Pinterest already decided in the few seconds after it sent the email that actually the pin was fine. Invariably, 7 to 30 minutes later, I'll get a second email saying, oh, hey, sorry, that pin is fine. It's very funny to me because in many cases, I never find out what the pin was, except perhaps a little bit by timing. If I'm surfing Pinterest looking for weird AI images to tell you guys about, I can get a whole flood of these emails, and it's a pretty strange and annoying phenomenon. I think I've probably gotten hundreds of them by this point, and on exactly one occasion, I was even able to see what pin they were mad about before they changed their mind. I'm a loyal Pinterest user, and I forgive them. But if I were just getting started with this and I was skeptical, I would dump them like a bad habit in 10 seconds for this strange and embarrassing behavior they're exhibiting. So, to point some things out here, I'm guessing this is a totally automated process. At one point, I looked for some kind of button where I could tell somebody at Pinterest that everything was off the rails. And I was unsuccessful. Probably it's even two totally automated processes. One which is successfully flagging these things as AI, And then the second one, which is reviewing them for how racy they are. And in my particular case, I'm just getting a deluge of emails from Pinterest about how it's changing its mind instantly, essentially. So back to this throughput idea. You have these two automated processes. There's not a human in the loop. It's going through a lot of things real fast and making calls to try to keep Pinterest out of trouble. And that's the point. But then I am just a human and I am in good faith trying to play ball with Pinterest because I like Pinterest. And they're snowing me under. So they increased the throughput at one part of this process. And downstream, me, the user, cannot really handle that or really, at this point, bother to pay attention when the output is so silly. So this is not a super exciting example. There's a lot of things that could go way more wrong. I don't think Pinterest should change here. Going back to productivity at your organization, I've talked elsewhere about why does an IT project take how long it takes? If you're doing a really, really awesome job, the IT project takes as long as it takes people to write the code, just sitting down in one continuous hackathon writing code. I think that basically happens never. And so you have to think about what is the real process around a lot of these things, and it can involve people need permissions, people need infrastructure stood up, people need feedback from the business side about whether a feature is necessary. All these things take time. And if you have a technology that speeds up one part of this process that you put in place naively, it's not going to get you the productivity gains you really think because that was really not your limiting factor. And then, kind of a worst case scenario, it just creates weird headaches where maybe the people that assign permissions are extra deluged right now and they're miserable. Like my inbox receiving emails from Pinterest. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please follow for more recipes. That's a Pinterest joke. And have a great weekend coming up.